I did this last year and I'm here to do it again. Every AFL team's roof and floor in 2023. The roof means the highest I believe that your club can finish, and the floor means the lowest that I think your club can finish. With the AFL season right around the corner, it's the first day of March. I would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button and like the video. It would really help out the channel leading into this free season as we go try and grow as big as we can this year and make the best content I physically can for you guys. Starting off the roof and floor of the Adelaide Crows. For the roof, I've actually got 7th, and the floor, I've got 16th. The reason I believe the Crows do have a shot at 7th is because of that potentially perfect mix of young talent mixed with the experience. Rory Legg is primed for a career best year. Darcy Fogarty is quickly turning into one of the best forwards in the competition, and they've just brought in Isaac Rankin from the Gold Coast Suns. The Crows could be a formidable force in the forward and midfield lines. However, their backline does leave some doubts. They're switching and changing every week with how they line up down back, and that could really be an undoing for the Crows this year. This entire thing could also mean that they're just really shit all year once again, and that's why their floor is definitely 16th. It is not out of the equation that the Crows go backwards in their development, but I have a feeling this is Adelaide's breakout year to potentially make the 8, or at least finish around that region. For Brisbane, I've got a roof of 1st and a floor of 6th. They ended up finishing 6th last year, in which would be an incredibly disappointing year for them. Aside from the finals, of course, where they beat Richmond, they beat Melbourne and went out in a prelim to Geelong. I think 1st has to be the expectation. A premiership has to be the expectation. The premiership window could close quickly if they don't act fast. Josh Dunkley from the Brisbane Lions is a massive gain. Dan McStay isn't an ideal loss, but could ease up their selection of their forwards week in, week out, with only playing those 2 tools in Eric Kipwood and Joe Dagher. The floor is 6th because I really just don't see them going below that. They have to have a real bad patch in the middle of the season, but really I can only see Brisbane being a real consistent and fantastic team to watch this year, and I reckon the Lions are going to be a real premiership shot. For Carlton, I've got their roof as 3rd and their floor as 10th. You can have a roof as high as 3rd, but for a team that hasn't made finals in 10 years, you've got to have a floor that's pretty low, which is why I've got their floor as 10th. Carlton, as I said with Adelaide, they may go backwards. There's no given that Michael Voss will take this Carlton team forward to a top 4 finish in their first finals appearance in 10 years, but there is that definite chance. I've got the Colin medalist, I've got the Brownlow medalist. Adam Chera shouldn't have any injury issues this year. Sam Walsh will miss the first few rounds of the season, but we saw Carlton play their best footy without Sam Walsh last year towards the start of the season. Blake Acres from Fremantle was an absolutely huge gain down that wing and through that midfield. Carlton are almost going to be a little bit like a Fremantle last year. They've got some very, very underrated but good wing spots with a fantastic engine room. For Essendon, I've got their roof as 8th and their floor as 17th. As you can tell, I've completely forgotten about Collingwood, so my position for them is the roof is 2nd and the floor is 12th. I apologise, Collingwood fans. The roof is 8th because you never know what Brad Scott could do. The Bombers can sometimes just make finals out of absolutely nowhere for no particular reason. It's a little bit random when Essendon sometimes make finals. But floor of 17th is justified. They could be absolutely dreadful. Some of their positions seriously still lack depth. They're pretty much relying all on young talent. They've got Dyson Heppel in there as a bit of experience. Zach Merritt is their new captain. But apart from that, Essendon are looking really thin in some areas. And their football club, if it turns into a mess again, it could just turn into a toxic environment and they could end up bound for another bottom 4 finish. For the Dockers, I've got their roof as 2nd and their floor as 9th. I sort of can see the Dockers dropping out of finals if they're not careful. I don't think they will, that's why their floor is only 9th, but a roof of 2nd does also show the upside. The roof of 2nd is mainly due to the engine room and potentially being the best in the league. That may be biased, but it's pretty hard to find a better engine room than Brody, Brayshaw, Sarong and O'Meara, with Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson tapping it down. The undoing could be the lack of depth in some key areas. The forward line's still very thin. We brought in Josh Corbett from Gold Coast. Will he be enough? Probably not. Jai Amos, he's still only 19 and he's still developing. Not enough. Luke Jackson, he could end up playing that deeper forward role as we've seen so far in the practice matches, which could be, a likely scenario that Luke Jackson does end up playing that deep forward role, which he has excelled in so far in the preseason, as well as chopping out in the ruck for Sean Darcy. It's just all about whether the Dockers get undone, but if all things go to plan, Fremantle are bound for their first top 4 finish since 2015. Geelong, I've got their roof as 1st and their floor as 5th. They're not dropping out the top 5, they've just won the Premier premiership. In fact, I think they are going to finish first this year. They're another great premiership chance. They've just appointed Paddy Dangerfield as their captain. I fell into the trap last year of Geelong are too old. They're not too old. They're going to continue to compete year in, year out. They've just gone Jack Bowes from Gold Coast, Tagger Bruin from GWS, Ollie Henry from Collingwood, to add to some young talent such as Max Holmes and Sam De Koning. Geelong are a force to be reckoned with. We forget that their young talent is among the best in the league. For the Gold Coast Suns, I've got their roof as 7th and their floor as 13th. The roof of 7th is if everything goes to plan, because in some key areas, Gold Coast are loaded. At the full forward line, a healthy Ben King, a Mabior Chol, a Levi Casbolt to chop out. The engine room is again among one of the best young ones in the league. Took Miller brings the experience, Noah Anderson and Matt Rao bring the youthfulness. Gold Coast, they could be scarily good in 2023. The downside is they've never made finals in an existence of 12 years. Gold Coast are going to get chopping soon and haven't shown anything yet to show that they can make finals. My floor's 13th. They could still finish out of the finals, which would be a fail mark for Gold Coast in 2023, considering they really need to get chopping if they want this football club to be a success. For Greater Western Sydney, roof of 14th, floor of 18th. It's a dull year for Greater Western Sydney. Don't see them getting out of that bottom 6 region. And yeah, they've lost Cornelia on Hopper as the cherry on top. They're unsure about what they want to do as a football club in terms of playing players in positions. They've got a new coach that's never been a head coach before. It's just too many question marks with Greater Western Sydney to not put them in this position. Hawthorn, about the same as GWS. I've got them as a roof of 13th, a floor of 18th. A little bit iffy, to be honest, the Hawks. Sam Mitchell, his second year in the head coaching role, but I tell you what, the losses of Jay O'Meara and Tom Mitchell are unbelievably bad. They were the two keeping the team afloat in that engine room, whether it was Sam Mitchell, deciding to move Mitchell and O'Meara outside of their natural positions. They've now moved to other clubs where they will excel at, and Sam Mitchell will definitely feel the presence of their losses. A Wooden Spoon is bound for the Hawks, if not a bottom 4 finish. Sam Mitchell, I don't know if he'll be able to take control of such a young squad, but there's no doubt the Hawthorn in 5-6 years will be a force to be reckoned with the amount of drafting talent they've done, as well as getting still a reasonably young Carl Amon from Port Adelaide, which will end up being their veteran in their glory years in the coming. For Richmond, I've got their roof as 2nd and their floor as 11th. The roof of 2nd is down to Damien Hardwick and some of the players that they've got. A good team doesn't stay down for this long. We've got to remember they were a dynasty not too long ago, and they still have the capability and the core members to make this a premiership winning side once again. It's all about the age, it's all about the healthiness, and it's all about how the young talent can add to that already growing depth. Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper, 2 vital additions. Richmond's young talent is overloaded and it's not talked about enough in the league. Hugo Ralph Smith, Noah Bolter. You've got some guys that haven't played a lot, such as Samson Ryan. They've got some real good young talent, and it's whether they can add to the veterans of Tom Lynch, Jack Riewoldt. Hopefully healthy Dusty Martin, because we all like to see a healthy Dusty Martin play football, because he's an absolute gun and he's an underrated figure of that Tigers side if he does stay healthy, and that is the big if. For North Melbourne, I've got a roof of 12th and a floor of 18th. Back-to-back wooden spoons. I mean, you've probably simply got to put the floor as 18th. You can't come off back-to-back wooden spoons and not have a potential of getting a third straight. The big one though, Alistair Clarkson, a bunch of little underrated, under-the-radar pickups that the Roos have gone and got, such as Liam Shields, Griffin Logue, Darcy Tucker. Alistair Clarkson knows what to do at the first year of being at a club. He nurtured Hawthorn so well over his first 2 to 3 years at that club. I have no doubt that he'll get a tune out of North Melbourne this year, and although they have the ability to finish 18th, I think they'll finish lower to bottom 10. Can I quickly say 2 players I'm absolutely gunning to watch this year? Luke Davies-Uniacke, who's dominating the practice matches and could be, I'm not going to say it, but I will say it, a Brownlow Smoky. And also Harry Sheasel. He's got the ability to play off halfback, and when he goes forward, he kicks goals for fun. Harry Sheasel is one of my favourite draftees to look out for this year. For Melbourne, I've got a roof of 1st and a floor of 10th. I've moved past my early AFL predictions video where I got dogs abuse for predicting Melbourne that far outside the top 8. After re-evaluating, that was a dumb call. I'm not sure what I was thinking. Maybe I was just trying to get a bit of spice out of the video. But come on, they obviously have the ability to finish 10th if that forward line can't get sorted. But Melbourne aren't that bad. You can't have a midfield that good. You can't have a back line that good and finish that low. They will be a top 8, and I reckon they'll probably be a top 4. They're still such a good side. All about their forward line though. Literally all about their forward line. It's whether they can get the balance right of selection each week, whether they go tall, medium or small. It's all about that, because Melbourne have gone so wrong over the past 2 years, even when they won that premiership. St St Kilda, I've got a roof of 7th and a floor of 14th. A floor of 14th is justified. They've got a new coach, and you know, it's just a bit of an identity crisis at St Kilda at the moment. You're not really sure where they're going or where they're headed as a football club. It's all about where Ross Lyon can take them. And talking of a new coach, he's the man you want as a new coach. His second stint at the Saints, he did wonders with the Dockers in his first year, getting them to a top 8 finish in his first year at Freo in 2012. I think he could do the same with the Saints this year if he can just turn a bunch of role players into absolute guns like he did at the Dockers. There's no doubt that St Kilda can be a top 8 side and compete this year. Sydney, I've got a roof of 3rd and a floor of 13th. The floor of 13th is purely due to the possibility of a grand final hangover. We've seen it happen to teams before, and I'm not saying it's going to happen to the Swans, but there's always a chance. The roof of 3rd is my testament to how good I think Sydney really are as a footy team. I think the midfield is so young yet so good and so well set up for the future years, performing at this high level at the moment. Buddy Franklin's got one last dance in him. The backline is just held down by the McCargan brothers. Sydney don't have an identity crisis like St Kilda. They have got an identity, and we know that identity so well of being a fantastic football club held down by foundations of youth and veterans. The Swans will be a force this year. All about that grand final hangover and getting over that. The West Coast Eagles, roof of 14th, floor of 18th. West Coast, I was so bad last year. You could see it. You can see them heading in that direction after missing finals in 2021. That eventually they were going to have a massive fall off, and 18th is still definitely a possibility. They've lost Josh Kennedy, who was their main goal kicker last year, and coming off an inactive list, there's no chance that Oscar Allen could be the sole forward that will work. Jack Darling's looking a bit slow. Jeremy McGovern's looking a bit slow. Luke Shuey and Andrew Gaff are both off it. It's all about the youth, and I've got to say, it hurts me to say, but West Coast have potentially drafted the best out of any team, maybe besides North Melbourne this year. Elijah Hewitt, Ruben Gimby, Noah Long. Campbell Chesser still hasn't played a game after getting injured in the practice match last year. Campbell Chesser's a man I'm looking out for. I think West Coast have drafted so well over the past 2 years that they've got to show some bright sparks this year, otherwise you really are wondering what the hell is happening at that footy club. And this is the last year for Adam Simpson. Do the Eagles fans want him gone? Do the West Coast Football Club want him gone? Yeah, it's a big year for Adam Simpson as well. And last but not least, or potentially least, because I've got Rory Lobb, the Western Bulldogs. The roof is 7th, the floor is 15th. You can just see a fall off. Probably not as high a scale as the West Coast fall off, but you can slowly see the trajectory going down. The roof is 7th because I think that's the highest they can go in finals if they make it. They've lost Josh Dunkley, who was a mainstay at that midfield. And don't get me wrong, they've still got McRae, Bailey Smith, Adam Treloar, Tim English in the ruck. It's still a stupidly good midfield. And Rory Lobb being a market target in that forward line, as much as I hate him, it is a real valuable asset to pick up from the Dockers. The 15th is if they just can't get their shit together. Beveridge has been average for a number of years now as a coach. And he's won a premiership, and that's probably where the leeway is coming from and letting him stay in the job. He's got to get his act together, and I believe he's just signed an extension. That extension can get stuffed if he's not going to have a good year this year, because the Dogs need to get a tune out of something this year. Otherwise, I mean, what's the point? Thank you all for watching this video. As I've already said, please hit that subscribe button and like if you are new and you enjoy this piece of content. Let me know down in the description some feedback on this and what you would change out of my opinions down below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.